Let's start out with a really easy question. Are there any wine critics you'd like to kick in the crotch? or alternatively, what are your views on scores and ratings of wines, and sort of give the next generation winemaker view on this?
Well, personally, I don't really follow too many. I do watch it because, you know, professionally I need to be on top of what is going on, I guess. But when I'm personally going out and buying wines, I will take somebody's advice at the wine shop, you know, the owner there or something. I'll take his advice over anything that I read. Like, if I have a good relationship with the guy and he knows what I'm eating that night, and I'll explain what I'm planning, that goes so far. Just that personal touch. So.
I certainly would not like to see anybody kicked in the crotch. You know, I'm a man of peace here, but as he said, scores, they certainly are helpful from a marketing point of view, and for folks who might not know a whole lot about wine, just trying to enter it and don't know what to pick. But as Alan said, if you get to know a wine merchant in your area or some friends of yours that really get to know your palate and can help you select the wines that are going to be good for you, that's the way to go. The scores aren't going to tell you really how wine actually tastes. I mean, they can write down descriptions, but that's one person's perception. But if somebody really gets to know what your likes and dislikes are, that's the best way to go.
And do you find scores influence what you're doing in the winery very much? In terms of styles you're going for or anything? Any marketing approaches?
Not at all.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt to get 100 points, but I'm not changing what I'm doing to get that.
The only thing it really would change is maybe when you get to go on vacation that year. Because you'll
Or
say
if I,
Yeah, she's got a good point.
get to go on vacation.
yeah, well, there
that'd
you
be
go.
nice.
There you go. Yeah.
Actually, having a vacation would be nice.
No, that won't happen.
You know, this is going to be the off-color comment, but
Zoom in.
okay, yeah. My impression is when you read comments and you see the power of the bloggers and the power of even community conversations about wines. We are no longer an insecure wine-drinking America. This is a wine-drinking America. Everyone loves wine, and they don't need them as much, and as a result, maybe we're seeing them be a little bit more defensive. The critics, the traditional critics, you're catching them in very defensive positions, trying to defend what they do, and so the relationship's getting really tenuous between the producer and the critic, and that may be just so that their reign is the end is in sight. And we're going to be the generation that gets to make wine for an educated and enthusiastic America.
Yeah, which probably the first time in American history we've had that situation with that much information available to the consumer.
And then the consumer is savvy and knows what they want, and thank God they also have all the tools at their hands to express it, because we're able to listen. I'd much rather listen to them, or you know, or to the agent who's representing them in the wine shop, or to the restaurateur, the sommelier. Those guys have a real idea, and it's amazing to see the sommeliers in America scream and shout and beat down walls, saying something completely opposite to what you would traditionally see as the high scoring wine. This counterculture reaction that's going on is strong. I mean, we can't stop. We can't just sort of go, oh no, we need to make wine to score well. That's not the relevant consumer.
Do you see any kind of, some of these bigger, oakier wines that California is better for worse, is known for, and Napa in particular? Do you see with this generation, I don't want to call it a backlash, but more like a pendulum swinging the other way, like more balance coming in? That's been my impression of the sample pool and the sort of new blood, next generation coming in. Is that just is that a happy accident, or do you guys really feel that that's a movement that's happening here now?
Oh, I don't know if it's a whole movement. I mean, I can really only speak to my own experience. I'm a little bubble over down at Judd's Hill, but I'm in our tasting room, every day meeting folks, and I've noticed that the younger people that are coming in their 20s are very savvy, which I wouldn't have expected. I mean, as young as they are, we had some folks in that fit all the stereotypes of people who should probably not know a whole lot about wine. They were honeymooners, early 20s from Arkansas. And they knew their wines, they knew their food, they were hip. We were talking wine, we were talking a little technical stuff. They liked the subtlety of, you know, at least the wines we make are not too oaky. They appreciated that. They were picking out, you know, the different characteristics, and that kind of speaks to what you're asking, is it more of a wine savvy population now? And I think yes, but also I think there is an appreciation for more of the elegance of winemaking as opposed to, you know, punching the face. I shouldn't use that metaphor again.
Kicking the crotch.
Kicking the crotch of, you know, these powerful extracted alcoholic oaky wines that a couple of critics seem to like and kind of set a trend for a while. And I would like to see it come back down to more simple, subtle, elegant.
In a way,
I think it's going that way. I think consumers are appreciating that.
I think there's a lot of influences pulling it in that direction. I don't think it's necessarily conscious on the part of winemakers that we need to change our style, because now, granted, I can see the larger corporate factory wineries saying this is our direction now. But you look at, I mean, you mentioned generationally, and the generation of wine consumers today you look at how they vacation. They're not content to simply go and look at the sites. They want to experience. When they come to the winery, if they can walk through the crush pad or even do a hands-on harvest experience, they love doing that. And
cheap labor.
You look at exactly,
cheap
but you look at what's happening. Look at what's happening in America with our cuisine and our appreciation of food and the popularity of Food Network and celebrity chefs, and wine and food go hand in hand. And these dumb sledgehammer wines that were getting all the high points that don't work well with food, I think we're seeing a decline in that. Not because people don't want to chase the points, but they want to be making wines that are going to work well with cuisine. And that's what we have to remember. It's called food and wine for a reason. We need to, although we would like people to call it wine and food, we need to think of what it's going to be paired with, what the intention of the wine is. And while a big over-extracted, high-alcohol Zinfandel might be the talk of the tasting, and everybody says, oh, you have to go try wine X, it's so big and huge, everybody remembers the loud person at the party. Everybody's going to remember that big sledgehammer wine. Sit down for a meal without wine, not going to work, and people aren't going to do the repeat buying. I think stylistically you go after elegance, layering in a wine that's going to work well with food. That's going to get the repeat buy, and that's what's going to make a sustainable business.
And
Hear that Food Network? Oh, hear that? Hire me.
Oh,
No, what did I do?
I heard the siren.
Oh, no, I resigned. I don't do that anymore.
Oh, you don't do that anymore? Okay.
No. Now it's Calistoga.
Oh, that was Calistoga?
Yeah. Wrong pitch.
Gotcha. You can tell.
Yeah.
Go the other way.
So I was just gonna, are we gonna, go ahead.
No, just, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, Food Network, hire him. Go ahead. Okay.
I thought
I didn't mean to step on that.
I thought I said something. You're like, Andy, don't you have to be going?
No, I heard the siren. Like, somebody needs your
I
help.
took it as like a gentle prod.